Hey, we're here together on Zoom. Let's record a podcast. What's up?
Why not, Tom?
Good to see you, Brett. Always a treat to be here with you to talk about some exciting stuff, maybe some helpful stuff for our listeners. Some questions kind of came in this week, and there was sort of a theme, so I thought we could just do a show maybe addressing that. Essentially, they are, in my words, the need to change your perceptions. That perception is really the problem, that these things we see as problems in our lives, they're really not good nor bad. They just are, but how we perceive them makes
Right?
them potentially a problem for us. And what I wanted to demonstrate today is our ability to change our perceptions. It's not necessarily easy,
No,
we can do this. And that life is too short, man. Like for us to continually perceive things as being problematic in our lives when it makes us so stressed out when we can just easily, well, simply, maybe that is a better word, change our perceptions. And the more that you get into being able to do that, the more you practice that, it's a skill, it becomes easy. It's like,
yeah,
hey, dude, smack yourself in the forehead. My perceptions are off. I'm perceiving this as a problem. It's really not a problem. Let me just
yeah.
focus on what's really important.
And perceptions are reality. I mean, perceptions are what drive our beliefs, thinking, emotions around a subject or situation. You and I have adopted a great perceptional exercise when when the poop hits the fan in our lives and we get the flat tire and the battery dies and the pool pump fails and all of those things that happen to all of us,
Yeah.
you and I just say, a minor inconvenience.
Hmm.
And that is the perception. Other people say, holy crap, I can't believe it's such an awful day. And the pool pump died, and I got a pair of that, and then got a dead battery and had about, yeah, da, 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 da. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's a minor inconvenience. We live in paradise. We have great lives. Life's a 10. But, even in a 10 life, there is minor inconveniences.
Yeah. And we get it that your perceptions are coming from all of your experiences, what your parents taught you, what you learned growing up, your environment, the people around you, how other people are perceiving things, how your spouse perceives things. There's all these influences, and sometimes it's hard to delineate what are my perceptions and what are the perceptions of the other people that are in my circle. And a lot of us who are more empathic or more codependent or are more easygoing, we tend to just adopt and take on the perceptions of all the other people around us when in fact we have our own unique perceptions. And if they're different than other people, then that's okay. It's okay to feel good yourself and your spouse feels anxious, depressed, tired, irritable, what have you. You don't have to join with that in order to help them or to be of service or to be supportive of that. And you can have your own feelings and your own thoughts and your own perceptions separate from that.
Absolutely. For sure. And we're not saying there are a lot of circumstances that people are dealing with that are more than a minor inconvenience, and we get that. We're not trying to downplay the very significant things going on in your life, but most of the things going on can be categorized as a minor inconvenience. And it's funny when I work with somebody and we talk about these concepts of perception is reality and change of perception and reframing and all of the things that go along with that. And they just want to argue with you about how awful things are.
Right.
It's like, if your life is that awful, is that awful, change it. Change it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't do that.
There's
I
all
have
these things
300
out of my control.
I have 300 reasons why I can't change that. My best friends ignore me. I hate my job. My family doesn't respect me. I can't change any of that. You can absolutely change all of that.
Yeah.
If your job sucks that bad, you know what? You don't have to quit your job, but go look for a new one.
Yeah.
And if your friends, are ignoring you and are not giving you any time and attention, why don't you go meet some new friends?
Hmm.
And if your family doesn't respect you, take a look at that. Why is that happening? Maybe you need to cut some contact with them, right? Maybe you're making it too yourself too accessible, too easy for that.
Yeah.
I mean, and these are just flip answers to very complex problems, but I'm just saying there are things that you can do to influence the things that are happening in your life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would really like to solve the problem of, and I know that's it's not going to be solved, but I at least want to have an impact on some degree of veteran and first responder and even teenage suicide. And I feel like um, not only is there PTSD at play and anxiety and depression, but also perceptions. And I definitely see it with the young people that I see. Their perceptions of things that are happening and occurring in their life seem so insurmountable. Um, and, and I have a client who lost her son to suicide, and I don't want to get too deep into to that, but she's trying to come to terms with what happened, and of course, where did she go wrong and what could she have done differently, and trying to understand his mindset. And of course, that's sort of an impossible task, but if we really focus on, like back to remember the book and the show 13 Reasons Why, all these little seemingly insignificant things, but adding up to, my life is going to be unmanageable. There's no point to it. I might as well just take myself out. Um, all these little perceptions. If I were to focus on all those little things in my life, if you were to focus on all those little things in your life and combine them, you could get to that place. It's not a huge stretch to see where, well, what's the point? I might as well just take myself out or unalive myself, I guess is the popular term. But there are examples to the contrary. There are so many things that are happening in your life that are really good that you can choose to focus on those. And the more you do that, that's a skill. The more you see that life does have some meaning and purpose, and you can create meaning and purpose in your life. And I think the ability to change our perceptions maybe would get us closer to solving that problem of suicide for all
Yeah.
those populations.
Yeah. Suicide is an awful, awful thing. We work with lots of people that are either survivors or family members of survivors, those kinds of things. And
Right.
it's a permanent solution to usually what is a temporary problem.
Hmm.
Um, and the biggest thing that we can do to help out um, people with the concept of suicide is talking about it. One of the big misconceptions is, well, I have a family member that's very sad, very depressed, but I don't even want to bring up suicide. I don't want to give them that idea. And it's like
Right.
that's not how it works at all.
Right.
So the
It
best thing
like
you can,
like it makes it too real, and so that's
yeah.
scary.
So not talking about suicide with somebody is your uncomfortability, not their uncomfortability.
Hmm.
Most people don't want to ask questions about suicide because what do I do if they say yes? What if I do? What if I ask somebody? And I tell the story. I've been in mental health my entire career, and I have two adult sons now, and I've asked them, their whole lives, weekly, monthly, hey, have you had thoughts of killing yourself? Because that's a normal question in my world. That's
Yeah.
not an unusual question, and I've asked them that. Time and time again. And it's just, they accept it as, like, no, 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 but thanks, no, Dad. But if I do, I'll let you
Yeah.
know. And so finally, one day, one of my sons said, "Hey, Dad, have you had thoughts of killing yourself?" Trying to like turn it back at me.
Right.
And I was like, well, first of all, I was appreciative that he asked. I'm like, what a smart aleck, right? And I'm like, I haven't had thoughts of suicide. I've had plenty of thoughts of homicide lately. Glaring at them, but no, that's just
Yeah.
kidding. So, but bringing it back to, it's please get comfortable with asking people that question. Have
Yeah.
you had thoughts of killing yourself? And it's okay if they say yes. It's not the time to freak out and call 911. Okay. We have a national suicide prevention hotline, 988. You hit 988 from any phone in the United States, and it'll get you to a national suicide prevention line. So if they say yes, say, oh, well, thanks for being honest. I don't know that much about it. Are you willing to talk to somebody at 988? Can we call them together kind of thing? Get
Yeah.
some professionals on board there because they can ask questions that are more telling. It's not unusual for many, and I would say most people in the world have had passive thoughts of suicide, meaning like, well, I don't really want to kill myself, but if I didn't wake up tomorrow, man, life would just be so much easier.
Yeah.
Kind of that passive things, and that's not unusual. What gets unusual, so when we'll start asking, have you had thoughts about how you would do it and when you would do it? So
Yeah.
planning and intent. So let the professionals ask some more digging questions, but I would love to see everybody get comfortable with asking their friends and family, and coworkers and whoever, hey, have you had thoughts of killing yourself?
Yeah. I mean, as part of our mission to kind of break the stigma and get people talking about it, it will decrease the the you're weak or there's something wrong with you because you're having those thoughts. That those kind of thoughts can be relatively normal as a human being to contemplate something along those lines, even if it wasn't a planned thing or it's not it maybe it's on a spectrum. And there's a low level of just thoughts. Hey, if this were to happen, then I could just, but talking about it, I think will decrease, but yeah, the stigma and the negative connotations, or that there's a weakness or there's something the matter with you, and now I have this judgment and I need to stay away from you, or I need to not say certain things because gosh, if I say that, they're gonna get sad and depressed and go off themselves.
Yeah, that's certainly just not the case.
Not the case.
No. And it's sad, and what's difficult is working with the people. When people die by suicide, they leave a whole host of victims back here, loved ones, family members, coworkers that just don't understand why that happened. And you and I work a lot with those people.
Yeah.
So,
Ever early on in our schooling, learning about this whole nature versus nurture kind of debate or discussion, is it your genetics? Is it your family, history? Is it, the way that you were raised? Is it your environment? And of course, I feel like all those things have an impact on you, but there are just some people that are naturally, despite any adversity, despite, nurturing or lack thereof, they seem to be okay and they seem to be able to
mm,
easily change their perceptions, or their perceptions are just naturally like life's good. Maybe they're more optimistic. Maybe they focus on the silver lining, or they have the ability to naturally reframe situations. And then others, even if they didn't have any challenges or adversities growing up, they had everything they could imagine, anything they could want was provided for them, a supportive, loving household, and they have that, pessimistic, negative outlook on life, and their perceptions are always going towards, this is the worst case scenario. I can't believe this is happening.
right.
And yeah, where does
Tom,
that?
you took me back to genograms.
Oh yeah, right.
Anyway, but that's the whole concept of resiliency, right? So resiliency is really the ability or the fortitude or the present state, because resiliency goes up and down with people, is my current state of how I manage adversity, right? What kind of armor do I have to meet the battles of my day,
Yeah.
right? How strong is my armor for my battles today? And the concept of resiliency with genetics is some people are born to be dandelions and some people are born to be orchids. Dandelions can grow in a crack of a sidewalk, no water, sun beating down on them all day, and they're
That's
blooming just
us.
fine.
That's
Yeah,
us.
I'm a
Yeah.
dandelion.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are orchids, and orchids are, no matter how well you care for them, you look at them wrong, and they wilt.
Yeah.
So people are, and everything's on a spectrum, like you said. So nobody's a complete dandelion, no one's a complete orchid, but we're all somewhere between dandelion and orchid. And that's the genetic way of
Yeah.
being resilient. And then you and I talk extensively about the other things we can do on our daily life to build resiliency. And
Mhm.
there's 5 basic things that you can do every day to build your resiliency. And it's get decent sleep, 6 to 8 hours of patterned sleep a day. And it should be on a schedule. You should be going to bed about the same time. You should be trying to get up about the same time. That way your body develops those patterns and habits. And sleep, if there is any magic to mental health, it's sleep, and
Mhm.
it's consistent sleep. Your brain goes through different cycles of sleep at night, deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep, and all those are very important to your mental health. So, sleep, water intake, got to stay hydrated, some form of exercise, whether it's walking, whether it's taking the dog for a walk, whether it's weightlifting, whatever it is that you do, you need some daily exercise, a little bit, some decent nutrition, right? I like pizza and tacos just like everybody else, but I can't eat it every day. I try to eat a decent, balanced, non-preservative, not a lot of things out of a box, fresh produce, fresh meats, most of the time. And then on the weekends, I'll have some beer and some pizza and some wings and some all those things that I shouldn't eat.
Right.
And then that fifth thing is some kind of daily schedule. Your brain needs to know what to anticipate. You can't meander through your day. I'll just sit on the couch and look at some TikToks and know I'm gonna play some video games, and oh now I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. Your
Yeah.
brain doesn't know how to handle that, so it kind of mushes out. So those 5 basic things is what you can do to help build your resiliency.
Mhm. The more resilient you are, the the more aptitude you have or ability to be able to bounce back from those adversities, from those challenges. Those are things for you to look forward to. Those are the basics. If there's nothing else, if my perceptions are off kilter and I feel like everything is problematic and nothing's going right in my life, and I feel like I'm always behind or 3 steps behind, then just go to those basics and focus on doing those things and doing those things well. People
Mhm.
that are highly successful, who are masters in their field, they do the basics well.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
basics are boring. They're
Mhm.
monotonous. It's pushing the boulder up the hill. However, if you're not doing those basic things, you're not going to have the resilience that is the very foundation for you to build strength and for you to
Mhm.
be able to change your perception. So just do those things. Just focus on
Mhm.
doing those things, and you'll naturally see the the majority of your life start to turn around and get better.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something like, when you hate everybody, eat something. When everyone hates you, take a nap.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And then there was something else. If something else happens, take a shower.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
When you
That
hate
was a good one.
yourself, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
When when you hate everybody, get something to eat. When everyone hates you, take a nap. When you hate yourself, take a shower.
Yeah. You
So
know,
true.
it, Occam's razor style, oftentimes the simplest explanation is the correct one.
Right.
If you feel like something is missing in your life right now, I can almost guarantee 88%, arbitrary number there, 88% of the time,
Love it.
it's water. You're missing water. Go drink some water.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
If you just drink a bottle of water and go for like a 20, 30-minute walk, like things can severely improve.
Yeah. And I don't want to make light of suicidality, but suicidality is I mean, some people think about it for a long time, but really the act of ending someone's life is kind of impulsive. It's like
Yes.
something happens and they just go and do it. Like, I've been
Yeah.
thinking about it and I just go do it. So we could put that pause in that time where, if you really have been thinking about suicide and you really like, I'm going to do it, get a bottle of water and to go for a walk. 20-minute walk, right? You're going to die
Yeah.
anyway. So if you
Yeah.
do those 2 things, you could probably avoid the impulsive crisis.
Yeah. I mean, even when we talk about addictions and cravings and whatever substance it is, alcohol, marijuana, nicotine, cocaine, whatever, what have you, the urge, we call it urge surfing. The urge only really lasts 10 minutes.
Right?
Like then your brain is off onto something else. And me, who, has sort of a touch of ADD, I mean, those urges only last 2.5 minutes. Something else. But
So,
you just
we
have to do something to get through that period of time. And then naturally, all of a sudden, you're on to the next thing. So if that could just be simply, let me just go drink a bottle of water
Mhm.
at the temperature that you like it. Some people like it really cold, sometimes some people like it room temperature, whatever. Some people like it with ice. Go drink a bottle of water and just go for a 20-minute walk. Just go walk outside. And if you get
So,
good sleep that night,
so we talk about
oftentimes
the
you wake up
suicide.
in the morning thinking, hey, why was I even in that weird place? You ever have a weird like idea that you think is genius at night and then you sleep on it and you wake up and you're like, oh God.
What the heck was that all about? I know for sure.
So, I mean, like, okay, so you have the thoughts, and I know this is a heavy topic, to talk about, but I agree with you, Brett. I want to talk about this more. I want people to be talking about this. It's okay to talk about it. In fact, more helpful than it is harmful to be talking about it.
Absolutely, for sure. It's kind of probably a bad joke, but we talk about homicide and suicide. I wonder how those numbers went up last night watching that debate.
Yeah, right.
It was so awful on every front. It was.
Terrible. Yeah. And we watched some of it, just, we weren't going to, but it was just like a train wreck that you can't take your eyes off of.
I'm like, I don't know what was more appalling, the freight train of lies or the dementia states. I mean,
Right,
just
yeah. Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
both.
so bad. It was, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I'm gonna do a write-in candidate. Anybody but, and I'll don't vote for a dead turtle. I'm not voting for either of these guys.
Don't you don't you just love the absolute deniability? Well, I don't know where you got that from. That never happened.
Yeah. What? What?
But it did.
Oh,
We have evidence. We have proof.
right,
We have recordings and we have video and we have
right. We have you on video. We have no, it didn't happen. Fake news.
right.
That was AI generated. What? What?
Oh my
What?
God.
What?
Yeah.
That never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, perception is reality, Tom.
Right.
Perception is reality.
Perception is reality. Yeah. You have your own story, your narrative, and that's okay. That's cool. You're the main character in your story, and I'm the main character in my story, and I have my narrative about things. But hello, you can change your story.
Yeah.
You can write
I
the next
love
chapter the way you want it.
I love the concept of, so we all have what we call our internal monologue, right? We all have our 30-second elevator speech, right? So we have two of them. We have the 30-second elevator speech is someone says, hey, my name's Joe, nice to meet you, who are you? Oh, I'm Brad, I'm a therapist, I'm blah blah blah, I live in Florida, I do whatever, yeah, blah, 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 I ride
Right. I'm a
motorcycles.
vegan,
Yeah, exactly. Whatever your
a
story is, right?
CrossFitter.
That's your external 30-second elevator speech. Well, you also have an internal elevator speech, and it's what you say to yourself about yourself.
Yeah.
Man, you're an old, wrinkled, bald, gray, MFer, fat. You're
Disgusting.
a piece of poop, like nobody likes you, that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, so you have your internal one. That's not my internal one. I'm just giving an example. My internal one is, man, you're just the handsomest dude I ever met. But the point is you've written that external one and you've written that internal one, and you are the author of it, so you are the only one that can rewrite it and edit that thing, right? So change that into, instead of you're old, wrinkled, and bald, man, you're holding it together for your age. You're a handsome kind of dude. So, rewrite that thing. And I always encourage people to, like, I really want them to tell me as their therapist, really tell me what your internal elevator speech is. It's okay. You usually don't tell anybody it, but please, as your therapist, tell
Yeah.
me because I
Yeah.
want to hear it. and then I always give them the homework of rewriting it, right? Put it down on a piece of paper. And not only are you going to rewrite it, but you're going to put it on an index card and you're going to stick it to your bathroom mirror and you're going to keep it in your phone and you're going to, you're going to read it five,
Yeah.
6, 7 times a day. And anytime you're feeling down, you're going to reread your internal 30-second elevator speech. So
Yeah. And guess
it's
what?
just
We go
such
in and out of hypnosis many times throughout the day when we're on autopilot, when
for
we're
sure.
daydreaming. And if you're reading that thing and you're in a more hypnotic state, you're
Uh,
more open to suggestions and you're giving yourself those suggestions. You do that through repetition, and all of a sudden you start to believe that thing, that new
yeah.
story that you wrote.
You believe the negative one, so why wouldn't you believe the positive one?
Exactly. Ooh, here's a task for you.
Oh no, not a chance.
it you have those negative elements of your story, right?
Mhm.
Let's say. I mean, if you have good elements, why change them? They're
Right.
good. They
Yeah,
make
yeah,
you
yeah.
feel the way you want to feel. So if you have negative elements to your narrative and they keep coming up over and over again, you've had them for years. Here's the serious work to do. Write those things out and then write out or even think about what are the benefits of me holding this negative belief about
Right.
myself? What could possibly be the reasons? Because
Right.
there are reasons, or else you wouldn't continue to have that. There's some sort of secondary gain that you're getting from having that. Okay, I'm a you know, fat kid or whatever, okay. So I've had that as one of mine,
Mhm.
negative self-talk. And then if because I've done this work, when I go deep down, why do I hold on to that? Why has that been part of my narrative for so long? When I was a kid, I was bullied because of my weight. I became the funny kid, and that enabled people to really like me. And so that felt much better. And part of, being funny is that uh self, like, deprecating type of humor. And
Mhm.
so I started to use that as the narrative, so instead of somebody calling me, Tommy Salami or a fat kid or whatever, 2-ton Tommy or whatever, I would call myself those things. And then like they 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 weren't able to get to me because I was already,
Right.
saying about myself. So that enabled me to protect myself in some fashion. And so
Yeah.
that just kept with the narrative, that kept with the story. And
Right.
so, even like yesterday, I have this really nice chair, leather chair, but it's a big chair. And I had a client who sat in it, and I was like, "Hey, man, you look really good in that chair." He's like, "Oh, is this your chair?" I was like, "No, it doesn't matter. You sit wherever you want." And so he switched chairs, and he was like, "Oh, I like this better because it's got the back to it." And he was like, "That chair is really deep." And just yesterday, I was like, "Yeah, well, I got a big ass, so it works well for me."
Right.
But like still keeping with that because
Yeah.
there's gain I get from that. So if I feel, because I'm on the heavier side, because of genetics, because of my lifestyle, because, all these reasons,
Yeah.
that still helps me um,
Right.
to feel like, I'm doing something about my insecurities, being,
No,
chubby.
you're right. I mean, and I grew up, I was the fat kid too, and it's funny how, you know, similar ships meet in the night, right?
Yep.
Uh, but if I believe that, and that's part of my narrative, you're just a big fat ass, whatever. So if I believe that about myself, when someone says that to me, or someone, and no one said that to me, and whatever, but if someone says that to me, it doesn't hurt
Yeah.
because that's my personal. I believe that about myself. So why, someone pointing out the truth, why would that be hurtful?
Mhm. So
Yeah,
that's the real work, is you
yeah,
figuring out what is the benefit of you holding on to that belief and either accepting it and being okay with it, or working on changing that and saying, I don't want to harbor that belief about myself. You know what? I
right,
don't want to continue to get that gain, and I'm going to put myself out there. And if somebody has a judgment about me or my weight and that hurts, then I'm going to use that as fuel to do something
right,
about it. I'm going to change my diet a little bit. I'm going to, engage in some more intense workout type of stuff, but I want to feel good about myself and to feel confident. Because if I'm going around thinking I'm a fat kid, then that already depletes and lessens my confidence.
right. And when someone else says something about my weight, that's more about them than it is about me.
Yeah.
That's not a me issue.
Yeah.
That means that they're, gotta point out faults of others so make themselves feel better kind of stuff. So
Yeah. The last time I had anybody say something about my weight was probably 10 years ago. I mean, other than, hey,
yeah,
you've lost weight, you look really good, you know.
yeah,
But the last time somebody said something derogatory about my weight was 10 years ago. So
oh yeah,
why am I still holding on to that?
right,
I don't need to protect myself anymore.
right. I know.
Okay.
We hold on to these things,
Yeah, so that's the real work. Discover what the secondary gain is, you know,
right?
'cause believe it or not, I know this isn't going to be a surprise to you, but there are people out there that are holding on to that. I'm depressed and I'm always going to be depressed and I'm never going
Right,
to be able to get out of my own way.
for sure.
And I get that. I feel that. And I work hard to try to help those types of people work through that depression, that chronic depression. But that part of their story, there's something a little bit separate that's their part of their narrative that is producing secondary gain. Maybe that is attention or love or compassion or sympathy from other people, or money, financial help and support from other people. And that's reaffirmed again and again and again. And so that stays as part of their narrative and they don't want to
Right.
change that secretly.
I working with people with addictions and substance use disorders. A lot of times that has been their personality. Like, if I'm not the drunk that passes out at the end of the bar every Friday, Saturday night, who am I going to be? Like,
Right.
who am I?
Yeah.
What is my personality? If I'm not a disappointment to my parents, I don't know who I'm going to be. If I'm not whatever, constantly screwing up, what am I going to be? People are going to have expectations of me. I'm going to have to live up to people's expectations. So a lot of that stuff is not only working on the addiction or substance use disorder part of it. It's like recreating your personality and your internal, external 30-second elevator speeches.
And you have to take accountability for that because now this new version of yourself or whatever version you're creating is going to be subject to judgment and criticism. And it's not going to be easy and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take hard work for you to be that different version of yourself, maybe a better version, hopefully. But you're going to have to be, facing potential ridicule, criticism, judgment, the whole works, and we have to get okay with that. And building your strength and your resilience in the face of that is so important.
Mhm. Tom, I just have to in this part of the podcast, I just have to point out I'm feeling very Mark Zuckerberg-ish today with my black t-shirt on,
Very nice.
right?
Hey, and if that makes you feel good,
Hey, little comic relief in there.
yeah. Let's change our story so that the narrative enables us to feel the way that we want to feel. And I would imagine most people want to feel happy, want to feel joy, want to feel confident about themselves and their abilities.
For sure.
That's all.
Perception is reality. How we perceive is how we feel. So it is possible to change your perceptions on things.
Mhm.
Um, Again, we're not talking about the big things, but please, like, use Tom and my example of when things go wrong, as things will. The definition of a happy life is not the absence of adversity. It's how we manage the adversity that comes at us on a daily basis. So to believe that you will not have adversity on a daily basis is just setting yourself up for failure. So when adversity hits you, it's a minor inconvenience. And despite all things, my life is still a 10.
Life is short. Is this how you want to be living your day?
Right.
If tomorrow doesn't
No.
exist, or however much time, however many days you have left, in
Right.
this life, in this body, like in this meat suit, is this how you want to be living?
Right. Tom, it's so funny that you say that because, I live this, right, on a daily basis. This is my life. And I'm 54 years old. And I had the thought, I was standing in my pool last weekend, and I'm just like, I'm 54 years old. What is it? what else did I have to accomplish in my life? What is it that I want to do? I got if I'm going to do something, I gotta like think about I gotta do it.
Yeah. The
And I,
time is now.
the time is now. So I'm
And
like, am I gonna take up like I don't know, like hang gliding or windsurfing or spear fishing or what am I gonna do?
bowling.
All those things on my list. I have to go through my list.
Right. Whatever you want, like
Hmm. I can do
what do
it.
you what do you want today to look like? What do you want your life to look like? Get out there and live and do all those things and have those experiences. And if there are things in your mind psychologically that are getting in the way of that, then let's clean those things out.
Hmm. Well,
Let's
I tell you what I want this weekend. I'm moving, so I have a lot of work I need to do. But I splurged and bought myself a new custom stitched high-end motorcycle seat.
Oh
Uh,
man,
I bought a
okay. So you have
s-
to install
I
that.
bought a Saddleman motorcycle seat, got delivered yesterday. So I'm gonna slap that baby on my bike this weekend. I'm gonna put my butt on this custom seat and I'm gonna go for a ride.
Hot
That's
dog.
my goal for the weekend.
So you
That
have to install that.
yeah, they're quick, they're easy, no big deal.
Oh, okay. All right.
Piece of cake.
So a nice splurge for yourself.
I did. I splurged on my ass.
I know I did with that chair too.
Uh-huh. So can't wait to check it out.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
almost like took it out of the box and just started sitting on it like, on a chair. And I'm like, no, no, I'm gonna have the real experience. And install that thing first. So
Do those seats just sort of like um mold to you and then you break them in and then they're just right or
they can, yeah. This one's got a bunch of gel inserts in it, so it's
yeah.
for the all-day rider. Now you could get the touring rider, which is called the road sofa.
The road
So
sofa.
they call it the road sofa. If you're like, riding cross country and
Right.
riding 700 miles a day, you get the road sofa. But I don't, I'm not, that's not me. I'll ride all day, but I'm not doing 700 miles often,
The
on
road
some
sofa.
occasions, but never.
I like
So I don't need the road sofa.
that. Yeah, because yeah, I'm not a rider, of course, so I can't even imagine what that's like. Just the vibrations and just the
Yeah.
road and bumps and whatever.
And this has got some back support, which I've never had. So I'm excited about that. Being 54, getting a little back support in there.
Yeah,
So I don't know how this turned into seat talk, but I brought us there.
yeah. Hey, in life you can pick your own seat.
Right? Exactly. Perception is reality. But when your
Yeah,
ass is numb after riding, that's reality.
yeah. You pick your own seat. That should be the title of the next book.
Well, Tom, it was very good to see you.
Great to see you too. Thanks again for the show, and I look forward to next week and to getting together at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
See you
Well,
next
thank
week. Thank you
you,
guys.
podcast land. Until next time.
See ya.